Today, we are diving into a practical blueprint for emotional control. We're going to break down exactly how you can stop letting other people and other situations dictate how you feel. So, let's get right into it. Oh yeah, we've all been there, right? One little offhand comment, one frustrating email, and suddenly your whole mood is completely hijacked. But what if it didn't have to be that way? What if you could reclaim that control? What if that initial sting, that rush of anger, only had to last for, say, 90 seconds? So here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to start with the surprising biology of anger, this thing called the 90-second rule. Then we'll get into why our buttons get pushed in the first place. After that, we'll find your superpower in the pause, learn to see difficult people as personal trainers, I love that one, and finally, we'll put it all together into a blueprint for real emotional maturity.
All right, let's kick things off with a little piece of science that might just change everything you think you know about being angry.
I want you to really think about this for a second. When you get cut off in traffic and you feel that surge of adrenaline, that heat in your chest, how long does that physical reaction actually last in your body? An hour? 20 minutes? Well, the real answer is probably not what you think.
That's it, 90 seconds. From a neurological standpoint, the stress chemicals that create the actual physical feeling of anger are completely flushed from your system in just about 90 seconds. So, any anger you feel after that, well, that's not the original chemical reaction. That is a choice. It's a story you are choosing to replay in your mind. Here's a great way to think about it. The initial trigger, it's like burning toast. The smoke alarm goes off. That's your anger response. Now, if you just open a window, the smoke clears all on its own in, about 90 seconds. But what do most of us do? We keep putting more bread in the toaster. We stand there replaying what happened. We rehearse our angry comebacks. And we just keep re-triggering that internal alarm over and over again.
Okay, so if the initial chemical blast is so short, why do we stay angry for hours or even days? Well, that leads us right to the psychology behind our triggers. Let's talk about those infamous buttons.
We all say it, right? Oh, they just know how to push my buttons. We talk about it as if other people have a literal remote control for our feelings. But here's the thing, that's a total myth. So if other people aren't actually in control, what's really happening in those moments? Well, here's the big reframe. They aren't pushing your buttons,
they are revealing them. Your emotional buttons are already there. They're connected to your own past hurts, your own unhealed wounds. So when someone pushes one, all they're really doing is shining a big bright spotlight on an area inside of you that still needs a little attention.
And here's why that happens. See, anger is almost never the real emotion. It's more like a security guard. It's big, it's loud, and it shows up to protect the softer, more vulnerable feelings underneath, like hurt or fear or shame. When you get mad at your partner for forgetting an anniversary, the anger is just a mask for the much deeper hurt of feeling unimportant or forgotten.
Okay, so how do we actually start using this information? This brings us to the most powerful, most actionable part of this whole thing, finding that little space between a trigger and your reaction. This is where you take all your power back.
The famous psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl said that between stimulus and response, there's a space, and in that space is our power to choose. So, that passive-aggressive email hits your inbox. That's the stimulus. Before you fire back a nasty reply, there is a tiny moment, a microsecond. That's your choice point. And in that moment, you can ask yourself, what's a response I'll be proud of tomorrow? So how do you get into that space? The trick is to activate your observer self. So instead of getting completely hijacked by a thought like, this person is an idiot, you just take one step back and notice it. You say to yourself, I'm having the thought that this person is an idiot. That tiny, tiny linguistic shift is everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat. You are no longer the emotion, you are the one watching.
All right, now this is where we can really start to have some fun with this and change our whole perspective. Once you get good at finding that choice point, you can start to see the people who trigger you in a completely new light.
I want you to really let this sink in because it's a revolutionary idea. What if every challenging person in your life isn't just an obstacle? What if they aren't there just to make you miserable? What if they are actually your personal trainers, showing you exactly where you need to get emotionally stronger?
So, your critical boss, they're not just a critic. They're your trainer for building resilience. That micromanager who drives you crazy, they're giving you a free workout in how to stay calm under pressure. Even that passive-aggressive neighbor is your trainer for setting clear boundaries. All of a sudden, these interactions stop feeling like personal attacks and start feeling like opportunities for strength training. So let's pull all these ideas together into a final blueprint. What does it actually look like, day to day, to put all this into practice and really achieve emotional maturity? First and most important, remember, this is a practice, not a perfect science. You're not going to master your emotions overnight, and that's okay. But every single time you remember the 90-second rule, every time you find your choice point, every time you reframe a difficult person as a trainer, you are literally rewiring your brain. These small, consistent efforts are what lead to massive transformations over time.
And this is the beautiful result of all that practice. These signs of maturity, they just become your natural way of being. You find yourself forgiving more easily, you start respecting differences instead of fighting against them, you learn to choose silence over pointless arguments, and maybe most importantly, your happiness stops being dependent on what other people do, and it becomes rooted firmly in your own inner self.
So using these tools isn't really just about feeling less angry. It's about becoming a more resilient, calm, and free version of yourself. So the real question to leave you with is this: who will you become when other people no longer have any power over your peace?